In the heart of the valley, we rise so bright, where the news flows freely in the morning light. Yuba-Sutter live, where truth comes alive. Every Tuesday's a journey, it's where we thrive. Watch it unfold. Yuba-Sutter live, in the heart of our home. Be informed, be wise. Yuba-Sutter lives, we capture it all. Policy debates, hear the people's call. With Yuba-Sutter live, you'll never miss a beat. Special reports hit hard, shining a spotlight. Yuba-Sutter live. Yuba-Sutter live.
Available for use by the district customers. The grant money, which you will likely provide today, can only marginally increase the water for irrigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online?
No virtual.
All right. Consent items.
Approved. I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Discussion items. Receive update on community impact and engagement initiatives, including the water conservation program. Terry.
Morning. Our community impact program, broadly speaking, includes everything from when we work with other jurisdictions on community, on economic development projects. It includes our grant program. It includes our education programs. So it's really broad, and you're always doing things to invest back into the community. And so today we just wanted to highlight a couple of those items. And so Jackie Silman is going to be giving you an update on two of those programs, the CTE program, which is a career technical education program, and also the water conservation efforts. But before we get started, we wanted this is the world premiere of our community impact video, which is newly released from our fabulous communications department. So let's see the video first.
The Yuba Water Agency is basically owned by the people of Yuba County, and our goal is to improve the lives of each and every one of them.
Yuba Water is dedicated to building up our communities, investing in a brighter future through our Community Impact Grant and Loan Program. We're investing several $1 million annually, revenue generated from the sale of hydroelectric power, supporting efforts to protect the environment, reduce flood risk, enhance public safety, water education, and reliable water supplies. Although we are legally limited to investing only in these areas, we do a lot of good within those boundaries.
We were losing so much water that we couldn't supply our customers.
North Yuba Water District faced a crisis. Water leaking from aging canals made of dirt. A grant provided funding to line the canals, saving a staggering 1,500 gallons of water per minute. For the first time in years, North Yuba Water District customers aren't facing cutbacks.
It made a huge difference. It has made it so that we can serve our customers.
Funding for an innovative education program is inspiring students throughout Yuba County to become passionate about their environment.
All of our education programs are set to inspire the next generation to become stewards of the watershed.
On expeditions like these, students learn about the salmon life cycle, environmental impacts of the gold rush, and vital restoration work on the river.
Yuba Water has been very important to this program. They've truly allowed us to remove the barrier of access to these programs by providing the funding so students don't have to pay for anything.
Through the Bill Shaw Grant Program, Yuba Water supports first responders in Yuba County, including funding a wide range of critical rescue equipment, helping families stay safe on the river.
The difference this equipment can make for us is life or death at times.
The partnership that we have with Yuba Water Agency and the ability to apply and receive the Bill Shaw grants has just been absolutely game-changing for all the fire districts in Yuba County. I mean, it came from a time when we were using old equipment and sometimes no equipment to being able to outfit most of fire districts with the necessary equipment to provide water rescue.
Our communities and the people we serve are as precious as the water we provide. And at Yuba Water, we're proud to invest in a brighter future in Yuba County, one project at a time.
They do a lot of wonderful work to be environmental stewards.
I would just like to thank Yuba Water. It's wonderful. We couldn't do it without them.
I'm extremely grateful as a community member and as a fire chief. The water agency goes above and beyond to reach out to us to see what do you need, how can we help, how can we assist, and they're just absolutely a great partner to have.
And that's the goal of the Community Impact Grant and Loan Program, is to touch every life in Yuba County.
All right. So on that note, good morning, Chairman Messick and board. It's always wonderful to see that video, and I've seen it 100 times because it's just powerful. And it is powerful about all that you can do for your community under the mission of the water agency. So I want to just share just a few other things under community impact engagement. I think most of you know I'm kind of a convener, a collaborator. That's kind of my world. It doesn't cost very much other than me, and I love it. So I wanted you to look back to November of 23. Wheatland, Olivehurst, Linda, and North Yuba Water District staff asked the water agency to discuss water conservation initiatives in education. And the reason why is January 2025, the Water Resource Board, each water municipal district will need to report your education outreach, your water usage, and together we needed to come, help them figure out what kind of goals can you do to get to the residents of Yuba County. So we came together, we established 3 goals: reduce water usage by encouraging conservation practices, educate residents about water conservation and providing strategies to get there in your home, and support economic sustainability. You never know what your water bill could be if you decrease. We won't know that until probably April, and we're going to have a report submitted by the 4 water districts. Your board approved a community impact grant in March of 24, and those kits were ordered, and a video and media campaign by the wonderful community communications team was conducted in partnership with the water districts. You saw that video earlier. It had our employees and their kiddos, and it's been played. I don't know how many times. I looked recently at thousands of times. So that was always exciting. 1,300 kits have been distributed to the 4 districts. I need to give a shout out to Leona. They got theirs out right away, and they've taken them to Brownsville Mountain Fair. They're getting the addresses, and they're going to be looking forward to giving us a report. So we have 200 remaining that we are going to use in school sites. And if you remember, again, Rex Rollins went out in summer schools. He was able to touch 500 kiddos who got the water conservation kits, got the addresses. So we're going to continue, because of the water districts, kind of a lack of staffing. So we're going to continue to help. Along with Kayla Holmes, who is up in administrative assistant up in our Colgate plant, who loves this stuff. We're going to go out to the rest of the Yuba County school sites between now and the end of the school year. Because spreading the word about these kits involves, and it does, hands-on approach, talking door to door, which Rex did during the summer, community events. Each moment is an opportunity to connect to those residents, increase the transparency about our mission, that this is the water district's mission, and explain how we collaborate with the local providers for the benefit of the entire county. By working closely with all the public water agencies in our district, we ensured that the consistent messaging and support was reached at every corner. from the foothills all the way through Wheatland. So it's all the same message. So the water agency and the water district staff will continue to visiting the school sites. Another shout out to Kayla Holmes. I think you all have the conservation flyers, activity sheets. She actually designed those, and we put the logos of the 4 water districts, again, to talk about it. They will be back in April of 25. They collected all the addresses of those 1,300, and we'll be able to give you a report on the success of this water conservation pilot program. So with that, is there any questions about water conservation? Oh, okay. You didn't do this, Willie.
Through the chair. Just a comment, not a question. So I'm glad to hear that we took the addresses and we're going to be measuring to see the success. I think that's really important. So I appreciate that.
Agree. I will share, I was able to get into a couple school sites, just kind of, I went in with Rex, but I wanted to go in on my own just to do that. And oh my goodness, those kids are sponges. And this is from kindergarten to 6th grade, and then even up to 8th grade. So as you saw with the activity sheets, it's for everybody. All right. So the other.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I got involved with a water saving program in Los Angeles in the 80s, and it's nice to see that we come a long way from a brick in the toilet, because that was the conservation.
It's all about conservation, right? Okay, so another area that that we work with through this department is a collaboration on career technical education. And so that's been kind of changed. If you hear the buzzword now, it's college to careers. But college is trade schools, Yuba College for a couple of years, certificate programs, Marysville, Olivehurst, Wheatland High School. They have amazing FFA programs, and I probably visit them 2 or 3 times a year to talk about things. But they also have business, healthcare, manufacturing training. In September of 21, again, your board approved $700,000 to support workforce development relating to watershed resilience. Yuba College created an amazing watershed management program. Yuba College introduced the program in 23 and 24. The natural resources faculty, they actually, I've been to many of their career fairs, and they are out there talking. They're talking about it. They're really trying to grow the program. So I give them kudos for that. Yuba Water Agency's mission of promoting watershed resilient and water education. This is really important to us. So I'm going to fast forward. I keep saying I'm sorry about that. Fast forward to Wednesday last week. The College to Careers Advisory Committee, which Supervisor Blazer is a member, I think over 10 years now, involved in the Yuba County. We held our first College to Careers block party, and this event occurred between 3rd and 4th on D Street from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., and it was amazing. And I wanted to share just a few things. I think what we figured out is get to the parents, get to the parents, get into the parents. So the College to Career sent flyers, all the 8th graders in Yuba County, all the high school parents, and let them know this was going to happen. Over 1,500 attendees, and I think they said there was over 500 parents that came through. So I think we found that niche, get to the parents, get to the parents. So the parents, CT educators, we had industry professionals there. Of course, FFA was there with their animals and talking about all the great things in ag. 5 colleges came. Chico, Cal Poly, they came to just talk to the kids. Go and I overheard many times, get your AA out of the way, go to Yuba College. If that's what, then come see us. So it was a nice mixture of all the educational opportunities that can lead to careers and more years of training or classes. Yuba Water sponsored the event with $750, which helped offer participating CTE students a coupon. And during the night, they'd go through the booth and they'd get this $5 coupon. The Brick and Edible Memories kept their doors open for this. So that's where that money went, which was nice. So we supported Marysville business at the same time. They stayed open for the sweet treats that they gave the students and parents. So a quick story I want to just leave you with. I was down at the Yuba College table, and there was a young man, and they were talking about GIS mapping. He was so excited. He goes, I love computer programming. This is my world. What kind of jobs can I do? So they listed all the different jobs. And I'm like, okay, well, water too. And he goes, this is a great opportunity. I'm staying on this pathway. What more can you ask for? So that was really exciting. So in addition to these efforts, I know Supervisor Blazer, we sit on many workforce development committees to continue the long-term discussions, to bring college to career pathways for those high school and Yuba College students. And honestly, with the ongoing collaboration, I think we're going to build a robust, sustainable workforce for Yuba County for a lot of years. And I think that's it. Anything?
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
That was easy.
You sound like one of the interns.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. I'm so,
You were bouncing.
I wish I was young like the interns. Thanks.
So the CTE program, I guess this is on, that's always been my favorite committee to be involved with. And we get a lot of presentations at all these meetings, and the future farmers are just amazing when they do presentations. They're so talented. And I remember one fellow who started off in the direction, I think he said in ag, and then he got involved in the medical path. And then he said, that just changed my life. Yeah, so it's a good program.
I think one of the things that I do is when I do go I sit on the FFA advisory committee as well. And one of the things I talk about is this watershed management. Don't just stay focused on, again, I love the family farms and that's all very important, but there's so many other opportunities within that world. So then that's always exciting to see them take the flyer, and hopefully they'll end up at Yuba College.
So was this for high school aged kids or junior college aged kids? Or
For the watershed management?
No, the program they had on D Street.
Oh, that was for 8th grade through.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Were you one of those parents that didn't get the letter?
No, I didn't get the memo. I saw it the day after on Facebook.
Yeah.
And as a parent of just recently turned 17 triplet boys.
Oh, there you go.
That are seniors.
Yep.
One of them pretty much has a career path. The other two don't know really what they want to do. So I really want them to get interested. And I can tell you from farming, the family farm anymore, you better have another job. So I keep telling my boys, if you want to farm, you better have another job to sustain this. So
we'll be in Marysville High School many more times this year between now and June. So I'll have to look up those two boys.
Yeah.
Have a little conversation with them. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Receive update regarding government relations and legislative activity. Adam.
Good morning, Chair Messick and board members. Adam Robin, Government Relations Manager. I'll also try to bring some of that intern energy to this presentation. But what we're talking about is the everything that's happened in.
Adam, a good intern would know how to get that right up on the screen.
Obviously, I have more training to do. So this is one of our semi-regular legislative updates. It's a chance to provide you all with an update on what we're doing in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. The timing is right. The state legislature recently adjourned the 2023-2024 state legislative session. Congress is in recess through the November election. So we have some outcomes to report as well as some upcoming developments that we're tracking pretty closely. Just a reminder, the strategic priorities established by this board every couple of years are really important. They provide the blueprint for what our priorities are when we engage with folks in Congress or in Sacramento. What do? We actively monitor developments across the board. We engage when necessary to promote and defend the agency's interests. And as always, we're working to establish and maintain relationships with not only legislators, but their staff, stakeholders, other folks in the community who have an interest in the types of issues that we work on here at Yuba Water Agency. Here's a quick overview of what I'll spend the next few minutes talking about. On state legislation, there was really a focus on water rights issues and groundwater this year. I'll also talk about the state budget because, as I'll describe, that was a pretty heavy overlay over everything that happened in Sacramento this year, how the state would work to close a nearly $50 billion state budget deficit, talk about what happened in Congress with federal legislation, and then look ahead to some trends that we're tracking as we move into November and beyond. So on the state policy bill front, again, the focus here was really on water rights and groundwater issues this year. You may recall that last year, so in the 2023, a report that was authored by the Planning and Conservation League about reforming California's antiquated water rights system attracted a lot of interest and attention. That resulted in a number of legislative proposals. Several of them were written into law last year, more modest proposals, basically requiring parties to prove up and document their water rights. But this year, the two bigger, more controversial bills were still in play at the beginning of the session. AB 460 is a bill that, as signed by Governor Newsom, increases substantially penalties for violation of a curtailment order issued by the State Water Board in critically dry years, as well as imposes penalties for violations of permit terms or license conditions. It's important to note, however, that that outcome, those increases in penalties signed by the governor, really pulled back the most problematic elements of this bill. As originally introduced, this bill would have authorized the State Water Resources Control Board to issue what were called interim relief orders for violations of a broad range of water quality and water rights laws, but more importantly, water law doctrines, things that sort of exist in case law, like the public trust doctrine, that aren't really defined anywhere in state law. That represented a really significant expansion of the State Water Resources Control Board's regulatory authority, and it was excellent that through the concerted efforts of a broad coalition of water agencies, local government groups, agricultural and commodity groups, business organizations, and others, that those most problematic provisions of this bill, AB 460, was pulled back. The other water rights bill that, again, attracted a lot of attention was AB 1337 by Assemblymember Wicks out of the East Bay. This bill would have authorized the State Water Resources Control Board to issue curtailment regulations in any water year type under any claim of right. So again, a significant expansion of the state board's authority where they could impose curtailment, which is supposed to be based on water scarcity in any water year type. And this would extend to pre-1914 rights as well as riparian water rights, which is an area of some uncertainty following some case law coming out of the 2014 drought. This bill was ultimately held in the Senate. It did not advance. So of the sort of full scope of water rights bills that we were looking at early last year, the fact that we only had a few of these bills become law sort of along the margins without fundamentally bringing in major questions and uncertainty surrounding California water rights system was a pretty positive outcome. Moving on to groundwater, there was a piece of significant groundwater legislation introduced this year. It was AB 2079 by Assemblymember Bennett out of Ventura County. This bill would have imposed specified prohibitions on the construction or development of new, what the bill defined as large diameter, high capacity wells. Now, if you actually read the definition of a large diameter, high capacity well, it's basically most well. It was anything with a diameter of more than 8 inches that was intended to produce more than 2 acre-feet annually. So some pretty significant prohibitions. The local enforcement agency, so in the case of Yuba County itself would be prohibited from providing a permit for development of a new large diameter, high capacity well within a quarter mile of a domestic well. Now, there were other provisions in the bill related to subsidence, and it was really aimed at addressing new well development in the parts of the state that are most impacted by subsidence, domestic well impacts, and the like of it, and the like. But the fact is, this bill would have had significant and, in conversations with the author and sponsors, unintended consequences for regions of the state like Yuba County. So we were able to help advance our message here. Interesting to note that this bill was actually sponsored by the California Department of Water Resources. We don't often see state agencies sponsor bills with members, but they did seek to advance this bill. Again, unified pushback on a variety of fronts. We worked really hard to define our interests specifically so that we could have good conversations with the author's office and the DWR. Ultimately, this bill didn't become law. It was stopped in the relevant policy committee in the Senate. But we do expect to see something like this come back in the future, and we want to make sure we're prepared. One sort of behind the curtain thing I just want to talk about on this bill briefly is, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about well spacing thresholds or how big wells should be sized. So I really appreciate the fact that at Yuba Water Agency, we have staff experts like Ryan McNally, like Kyle Morgado, like other members of the team that are helpful in bringing me and our advocates in both Sacramento and Washington up to speed on the relevant details so we can figure out what a workable path might look like on a bill like this. Instead of talking about I'm just going to jump right to the state budget, because the fact is we didn't see a whole lot of other bills this year that were of concern to us. And I think a big reason for that is the state budget, the almost $50 billion deficit that they had to close down there, really prevented any new programs or big ideas from being introduced, because anything that had a price tag associated with it was a non-starter this year. The state budget did ultimately close at $46.8 billion. That's in the context of a $297 billion budget statewide, so a pretty significant gap they had to close. That was accomplished through a variety of reductions, tapping reserves, fund shifts, deferrals, pauses, delays in state spending. But at the end of the day, the state did, again, legislative leaders and the governor did agree to a almost $300 million state budget. A significant trend was that, we went from record budget surpluses to record budget deficit within just a few years. And across the board trend was that a number of new programs created during those years where there was a budget surplus were just zeroed out and essentially no longer exist. And that was a significant concern as we worked in collaboration with agencies across the state over the past 3 years to create the new Dam Safety and Climate Resilience Local Assistance Program in the Department of Water Resources. That had $100 million. That's a $100 million program that gives the Department of Water Resources a pot of funding that they can use to partner with local agencies on projects like the Arc Spillway, where you're reinvesting in existing infrastructure to get new benefits out of them. Happy to report that while the program was not zeroed out, and we were able to retain $50 million in that program, and the unified support of legislative leadership for that program was really helpful and important in that effort. Last thing I'll mention here is the fact that funding to support voluntary agreements and the Healthy Rivers and Landscapes program, about $500 million in previous budget years, was also proposed to be zeroed out, and that was also maintained at the end of the budget year. Last thing I'll mention on this slide is statewide bond proposals. As you all may be aware, Proposition 4 will appear on California voters' November ballots. This has a title like these bonds often have: the Safe Drinking Water, Wildfire Prevention, Drought Preparedness, and Clean Air Bond Act of 2024. Just a few items in this bond to highlight for the board's awareness. It includes $1.5 billion for forest health and watershed resilience work, wildfire work. It includes over $500 million for flood risk reduction projects statewide. $250 million of that is dedicated to facilities of the state plan of flood control, so levees in the Central Valley, the bypasses, and so on. And there's a $480 million tranche of funding that would be dedicated to the Dam Safety and Climate Resilience Local Assistance Program. So $100 million for that, $50 million for that program statewide doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of good. As you all know, these are expensive projects, but Proposition 4, if approved by voters, would increase the funding available significantly. Almost done here. Jumping over to Congress. You know, in the same way that Sacramento really had their work colored by the state's budget deficit, there's obviously the heavy overhang of an election year back in DC between a Republican Congress and Democratic control of the White House and the Senate. Not a whole lot has gotten done, frankly. A typical Congress will pass anywhere from 500 to 600 bills in a Congress. This year, they're currently at just under 90. So a pretty significant pullback in the level of, I don't even know if we call it success, but the number of bills that have made it over to the president's desk. So, you know, that said, there is still important work happening there. We've really focused our work on ensuring that ongoing multi-year efforts have the funding that they need to continue, specifically the ongoing water control manual updates at New Bullards Bar and Oroville. Like any big long-term federal project, you got to fight for dollars every year for those projects. And even though it's an Army Corps process, you can't ever count on the fact that that funding is guaranteed. So we pursued two strategies this year to ensure that we were partnering with the Department of Water Resources to give that process the funding it needs to get through to completion. Specifically, the Water Resources Development Act. We have language in both the Senate and the House versions of that bill, which is currently in conference, urging the Corps to expedite completion of the water control manual updates. We also have what's called report language, which is very helpful to Corps in providing the sense of Congress as to what they should be working on. You know, and while the sense of Congress is nice, dollars matter more. And so we were successful in securing congressionally directed spending requests for $3.361 million to support completion of the water control manual. That's funding that goes to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to complete the process. On both of these issues, the word requests and the earmark requests, pleased to report that we had unified support from our congressional delegation. Representative LaMalfa's office was very helpful. Senator Padilla and Senator Butler's office similarly supported the request. So it's nice to see folks coming together around this important project. Looking forward, I mean, it's hard to really look much past, you know, the beginning of November. The election results will determine control of the White House and potentially both chambers of Congress, excuse me. You know, while that obviously has political implications and high-level policy implications, it also implicates some ongoing federal rulemaking, stuff that sort of happens down in the weeds that we watch pretty closely. For example, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is involved in this decadal process to update their agency-specific procedures, which is sort of details how the Army Corps does business. You know, there's a trajectory when one administration's in power, if another administration takes power, the trajectory can shift slightly. And just being aware of the landscape that we're entering into so that we can respond accordingly is a big part of the type of thing that I'll be thinking about in the coming months here. Similarly, for the state legislature, we went through some big changes this past year. Over 1/3 of the folks down there in Sacramento who fill those seats in the Senate and the Assembly were new. Now they have, you know, one term under their belt. I think they might be feeling, you know, like they have a little more expertise and a little more familiarity. And it'll be interesting to see where that takes us. And then finally, the results in Proposition 4. You know, whether voters go up or down on the measure, I think it really will determine a lot of how the state funds these type of priorities in the coming years. And we know there's always a need there. It's just a question of how resources get allocated. So that's my update for today. I really appreciate the opportunity to take a few minutes to walk through these items with you, and I welcome any questions. Thank you.
To the chair. Did the governor have a $100 billion original deficit, I thought?
Yeah,
the shell game.
I can't, honestly, I wish I was expert enough to be able to explain sort of how that target moves. Estimates ranged as high as $100 billion earlier on in the session, and then revenues come in and all sorts of balancing happens. And as I mentioned, there's any number of sort of tactics used to ultimately close that deficit. The number in the Legislative Analyst's Office report is 46.8, so that's what I'll go with for purposes of this.
Okay. The number I heard from a member of his budget committee. No. Okay.
Through the chair, Proposition 4 question. The title on that is, how could anybody vote against that? Yeah.
School safety.
Yeah. So your honest opinion on that, are there unintended consequences somewhere blended into this that we don't know about, or is it, do you have an opinion on that?
You know, I'll avoid giving my personal opinion about a bond measure and how the state should spend its dollars. I think that as I highlighted the categories of spending or funding that I think are most relevant to this agency, I'll note that, you know, so it's 1.5 for wildfire, just over half a billion for flood control, and $500 million for dam safety projects. That leaves $7 billion in other types of projects. It's everything from biodiversity protection to park creation to coastal resilience to extreme heat mitigation, a whole host of things in there. I'll say this in response to your question. Sometimes these the bond measures do contain policy-related provisions, i.e. it'll make a change to law in addition to providing a bunch of funding. This bill doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of that. It's really spending for various categories. So I'd encourage folks who are interested to, you know, find one of many voter summaries available on this thing. I think it gives you a pretty clean picture of what, you know, the dollars are proposed to be spent on and the, you know, debt load that the state assumes over decades to pay for it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
The Water Resource Control Board controls the water quality certificate, which is a major part of our relicensing. Do you have any recommendations? I know Willie has done an astounding job of, communicating with the people where he can go and do things. Is there anything else you would recommend that we do as an agency?
With respect to legislation, at this point, I don't have any recommendations for you, no.
Thank you.
Wayne?
Yeah, I enjoy your presentations, Adam. I'm really impressed about how you're able to keep your finger on all these different issues. And I'm kind of struck by the seasonality of it. I would imagine it's hard to see what's coming next, but in January, there'll be a whole slew of new bills, I'm sure, that have to do with water. So do you have any prediction of it? I think you gave us some, that some of these will just come back in slightly different form, but.
I mean, I would have to punt that question over to John James, and I don't think he's here, but you said seasonality to this. There's also sort of a weather vane effect here, where in really dry years, we get a whole lot of interest in water rights and curtailments and groundwater issues. And similarly, in wet years, we get more interest in sort of funding for flood. That's sort of what we looked at, what it looked like a couple years ago. So I think it's interesting to think about sort of the long tail of this PCL report and whether that interest in water rights will sort of sustain itself into the next couple years, or whether that's sort of run its course for the time being. There's any number of sort of trends that we're watching about sort of how benefits to communities of different types of projects are understood and all that. I couldn't give you a percentage pie on sort of what we're likely to see next year, but I think it'll be a continuation of some of what we've seen. And then, yeah, I'll just be watching the 10-day forecast like everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. It was an excellent presentation. Thank you, Adam. Okay, we'll move on to manager's report.
All right. Well, thanks. So I'd like to thank Jackie for her intern-like, energetic presentation. And then I want to expand a little bit on Wayne's comment on Adam. I want to thank Adam for his presentation. He's one of 5 of you this morning that I talked to, and right when I said good morning, it was, oh my gosh, the traffic on the bridge. And I don't know if you saw Adam walk in 5 minutes late, but he made it. And I was going to have to do some type of dance or entertainment if he wasn't here by the time it came to his point. But to Director Bishop's point about Adam, and it's kind of the seasonality, and it's amazing that Adam keeps track of all this. I wanted to kind of walk down Adam's job kind of over the last 4 years. So in the past, prior to 2021, we had external consultants do this role of government relations. In 2021, this board authorized hiring a government relations specialist, and we ended up hiring Adam. He's got a career that kind of bounces through different industry organizations and such, and State Water Board and other places. He is an attorney. He's a great fit for this agency, does a wonderful job. In about 20, well, and I told him when I hired him, I said, look, I don't know what this role looks like internal to this agency and kind of long term. It's like many of the positions here, we see how it evolves and we see what you make it into and see how you provide value to this agency. In mid-2023, Adam and I sat down and I had been using him for more than just what you saw there. I would say that's, Adam, I don't want to like be inaccurate here, but when I talked to Adam, it's more than 50% is not that. Let's just call that 50% of his job. 50% of his, the remaining part of his job is special counsel. And in 2023, we added that title. So I'm using this as an example of this board trusting staff to go out and hire the expertise that we need and getting the most out of it. And so we adjusted his title in 2023, made him special counsel, and he's sitting in a bunch of strategic meetings. When I have to be in 3 places at once, he's taking up one of those places. So I just want to let you know that that's how his job has evolved. And back to Director Bishop's question or comment, you can't take especially the state legislative process out of Adam. It's just like that's what he does. He's programmed to do it. He's done it all his life. And this is what he does naturally. No matter how I'm pulling him in different places, he will always have this going on in the back of his mind or with other folks and whatever. So anyway, just wanted to talk about that role, and I want to thank him for his presentation. And I too always learn something from those. So thanks to Jackie and Adam. On to my pretty normal stock managers. I'll do it a little different. New Bullard's Bar is currently sitting at 630,000 acre feet. On October 1st, our last board meeting, I said we're at 650,000 acre feet. And October 1st is the beginning of the water year. So let's talk about life of a water manager in October of any given year. You don't know what's coming, right? In April through October, in where we are and how we operate, we know what our reservoir is on April 1st. We know what the snowpack is. We know what the Yuba Accord minimum in-stream flows are going to be. We know what our demand is from our irrigators. It's the same every year. We know what fall flood up's going to be. We know what we did with groundwater the year prior. We know what we're going to probably do that year. So we pretty much cruise for 6 months, and it's like 6 easy months. We know it's going to get hot. We know we're going to have some heat waves. We'll probably ramp up some generation, a couple times throughout the summer, but it's kind of easy mode. Then you get into October, it's the beginning of the water year, and like Adam just mentioned, there's a seasonality to it. We don't know what we're going to get. I mean, you can look at all kinds of El Nino, La Nina predictors. You can look at, kind of where we've been the last several years, and it's been pretty wet. It was average this year, but we're kind of due for a drought, but doesn't mean you're not going to have a flood. So we sit here on 15 days into the water year with 0 precipitation, and we've already knocked down 20,000 acre feet out of New Bullard's Bar. You get kind of nervous. And I'm just letting you know that we're kind of in the unknown part of being a water manager. So I can't tell you, no matter how many things I put in the report, I can't tell you if we're going to be at, full reservoir and spilling in March, or if we're going to be in some type of less than ideal condition. But it is the life of a water manager. That's how it works. I do have some revenue reports to give you. We have July and August power sales revenue here. I'm going to just generalize it and let you know that we were slightly, or we were right on track with our generation values in July. We had an average year, and July is kind of the first full month of that, what I'll call cruise mode, of just delivering the water and delivering the energy. So we kind of always know what that's going to be, especially in an average year. So July was right on track with our production, but our Cal ISO revenue was a little bit low because the market's been low. And then this is the one that surprised me. Our RA carbon free and REC revenue was slightly lower than forecast. I don't have a specific reason for that. It's about $1 million low. It was our actual was 13.9 and our forecast was 14.9, so not terrible. But I don't have a reason why. I'm going to ask the team why that was. I know that we're using a more aggressive forecast, or what I would like to call, this is based on recommendations by Director Matthews, but a more focused revenue forecast to try and be as accurate as possible. So our forecast is based on the last 3 years. So it may have something to do with it, but I'll bring that back to you next time. But overall, our revenue was really good. I mean, we were slightly lower than our forecast, but it was $24.2 million in 1 month. That's really good. And very similar in August. August, we had slightly more generation than we forecast with a little bit lower Cal ISO rate, but we had better RA, REX, and carbon free. So we had 22.9 million revenue in August, and that would have been the same as July, except that we taper off a little bit of our flows. You know, you flood up and stay heavy in July and then kind of decrease a little bit in August. So things are doing really well on our revenue side of things. I'll stop there. Any questions on revenue, markets? I guess I'll expand a little bit. End of October, okay, life of an energy manager. The life of a water manager, now life of an energy manager. You know, we sell our Cal ISO energy on the day ahead market. Not really much to do other than get it ready for the next day, and we bid into the market. So we sell our other products, renewable energy credits, resource adequacy or RA, carbon free. We sell that a year ahead of time, and the RA has an actual regulatory deadline of selling, or the folks that are required to purchase it have to purchase it by October 31st. So we end up selling that product by October 31st. So all of our RA is sold for calendar year 2025, and we end up kind of selling the other products on the same time span, just to know what those sales are going to be. So all of those three products are sold for 2025. We got really good contracts or really good prices there. So I'm letting you know, although we don't know what our water year is going to be, we know what that portion of our generation is going to be. So that gives us some stability on our revenue. So that's really good. Okay, that's energy. Moving on to the power systems headquarters, I'll just give you this. I've been told by contractors throughout my career that when you start drywall, you're halfway done with your building. So we're done with drywall and we're about to paint the drywall, or we're actually painting the drywall. So we're a little bit farther than halfway along. And I say that because when you drive by it, it looks like we're almost done. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into these buildings that's nuanced to this water agency, like communications and IT and special things that go in the mechanic shop and lifts and exhaust ducting and things like that that are more above and beyond just a typical building. So there's still a lot to do. My estimate is still mid-2025 for completion of the building. So, but things are going well. We came out of September with the Narrows 2 outage complete. We used what we call the small bypass valve at Narrows 2 to deliver water downstream because we have the large bypass valve out of service because we were doing maintenance on that as well. We noticed some damage that was done to, we call it a shroud. There's like this shield or shroud on the outside of this valve. We don't normally and haven't normally operated this valve long term. We operated it for almost a month. We had to this time just to provide water downstream. So there's some damage. It's not irreparable damage, but the team's coming up with a plan to fix it, either replace it in kind or actually bring it back together and weld it and get it ready for future long-term use. The valve's still available for service. We're not at risk of not delivering water, but I want to let you know it's one of those things that our team identifies and comes together really quickly with and lets me know, hey, we got to put together a plan to fix this thing, and it's an abnormal situation, and they're going to get a plan there. But that unit is back in service. Colgate 1 is out for this month for annual maintenance. Colgate 2 is in service. Otherwise, everything's going well with our annual fall outage work. As far as the weather goes, John has let me know that we have kind of a low pressure system kind of today and tomorrow or for the next few days. And late in the week, there's this north wind situation that causes higher fire danger. So we got to watch for that over the weekend. And then potentially early next week, Monday, Tuesday, there's an actual storm with potentially about an inch of rain, at least right now. That's what we're seeing. So talked about the first few weeks of not having precipitation. Maybe next week we'll actually see some precipitation, and then we can get into actual water management. That would be good. And lastly, I will read to you the communications update. The Army Corps of Engineers is hosting a public workshop tonight to talk about updates to the water control manuals for New Bullards Bar and Orville, or DWR's project. I'll also just let you know that last board meeting we discussed, where we gave you a presentation on the ARC spillway and said that we would bring you soon a presentation on the water control manual update and FERO, and we plan to do that in November. So just giving you a little foreshadowing of what's to come. But anyway, the Army Corps meeting is this week, and that meeting starts, it's tonight. It starts at 5 p.m. at the Sutter County Veterans Memorial Building in Yuba City. Last week, we had a booth at the county's Be Prepared Fair in Linda, and a ton of other organizations participated. Turnout was pretty decent, and we had lots of good conversations at our booth. The Appeal Democrat was also there and interviewed Ryan McNally for a story about emergency preparedness, which was published over the weekend. And this week, Yuba County's Valley residents will receive a special mailer as part of our outreach for Flood Preparedness Week, which is October 19th through 26th. Director Matthews has a copy. I don't know if you've all seen a copy. We have copies in our office. It's a really well done publication. I've got to thank Dee Dee and the communications team for putting that together. I think it's the best that we've ever done. We've done mailers and inserts in the newspaper in the past, and this one's really comprehensive, and I thought it was really well done. And includes stories about our area's flood history, work that's been done to reduce flood risk, and major projects still ahead, emergency preparedness tips, and more. Our upcoming sponsorships include the Rio del Oro Harvest Festival on October 25th, the Touch a Truck event put on by the 530 Recovery and Everything Off-Road Group, the United Way Spectacular River Run, and the Pinktober event at the Hard Rock on the 26th. Our next board meeting is on November 5th, and we'll also have an ABP meeting that day.
Could you explain a little bit on the control manual that in the art spillway, we talked about being able to get the rules like Oroville, where you'd have more flexibility on wet years and dry years?
You asked about that, and we did discuss that at the last board meeting where we presented on the ARC spillway. And I'll reiterate what I said then. We will not have a wetness factor like Oroville has, or a rule in our new water control manual that is based on that year's hydrology or snowpack. What we will have is, we hope to have, and what's currently not, it's not written in stone, but we're working on, is having more flexibility, or established in a more thorough way the flexibility we currently have for encroaching in the flood space. That's the way we intend to manage flexibility or hydrologic conditions in our water control. It's much more difficult to impart a new concept in the Army Corps' water control manual update process than it is to kind of solidify concepts that you had in practice for several years. I know it seems counterintuitive because Oroville is just one watershed north of us. They're our partner. They operate with us. We use the same lingo. Same folks from National Weather Service and others are in the conversations with us, and they have a different methodology. I agree, that's awkward, but we've seen the best way for us to capture flexibility is to solidify the flexibility we've established.
Because that would be a major revenue enhancement if we had more flexibility.
I think of it less as a revenue enhancement and more of an efficient water management opportunity.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? That inch of rain next Monday, is that at Bullard's or down here in the valley?
Tuesday, and it's in the water.
Okay.
And it's 7 days out, so
okay.
Year. So I'm just saying, no offense to our weather guy, but forecasters get excited in the first of the year when they see clouds, so it may not be exactly right.
All right. So we'll start with director's reports. We'll start down on this end, Wayne. Pass. Charlie?
I will pass also.
Gary?
I've got just a few things. So I went out to the Be Prepared Fair, and it was great to see Yuba-Water out there and chat with them. We had some great representation. Looks like they were having some good conversations. A lot of people gathered around the booth when I was there. So also really enjoyed the community impact video today. And related to that, tomorrow I'm going on a salmon expedition with Rio del Oro Elementary School from Plumas Lake. And I'm really excited. This is the first year that kids from Rio are getting to go. So I want to thank staff for kind of helping get that across the finish line, both from Circle and from Yuba-Water. I know some of the South County schools were a little kind of late to the party to get to go on this trip. due to some insurance concerns. We got those taken care of a couple years ago. Rio still didn't go last year. They had not sure that they were aware of the value of the trip. And so I was able to have some conversations with some of the fourth grade teachers and encourage them to participate, and they are. And I'm excited to join them, especially because that's where my kids went to school. So I'm excited that they're going, and it's about a block from my house, the school is. So, and then on Thursday, I'm going to participate in the Naqua Sac Valley celebration, the annual celebration in Dunnigan. So.
Great. Andy?
Well, Mark Twain once said, if you don't read the paper, you're uninformed. If you do read the paper, you're misinformed. We had a little article on Meals on Wheels, but in September 4th, I was notified by the Yuba River Endowment that they were cutting off 66 meals, which is about 1,300 meals a month, from seniors because of the ARPA money running out. And these people no longer qualified for Meals on Wheels. They've sent out a letter without the board notification or even bringing it up in a meeting. So it was Don Blazer didn't know anything about it. Well, something about seniors getting meals cut off makes them a little testy. And what happened was we went and got Kevin Mallon and Jen Vasquez and Tony Gordon involved in this. And within 5 days, we had a commitment for 60 days of the meals to allow for a transition period to the new programs that they have. And let's see, I'd like to recognize the Yuba River Endowment at some point in paper and say, hey, thank you very much for notifying. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known about this. So, and I also like to thank staff for being able to react quickly to this, because Sutter County didn't get it done till about the 10th of October, and I don't know how many meals they missed. But these are little things that when we're in a committee, if we don't pay attention to what they're doing, they're going to do what they want. And what they did was they cut off meals without clearing it with the board. And I asked them twice to put that back in the JPA, that they notify the board before anything like that happens again. So anyhow, special thanks to Kevin Mallon, Jen Vasquez, and Tony Gordon, who stopped an otherwise unpleasant experience for some of our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Don?
I'll follow up on that just a little bit. Yeah, we all attend a lot of committees, more than we should. So it is important for us to ask pointed questions when appropriate, because usually if we do that, it'll start a conversation and things will come out that we weren't aware of. So thank you, Andy, for following up on that. Thanks to the agency for their participation in the block party, the Career Technical Education, and the Be Prepared Fair. I did make it by there for a little bit. There was a pretty good representation of all the various agencies involved with that. So thanks again.
Great. Seth? All right. I have no report either. I'm going to pass. So with that, the meeting's adjourned.
In the morning light, the cameras start to roll. Yuba-Sutter live. Watch the stories unfold. Tune in on Tuesday, the news comes alive. Yuba Agency, making sure we thrive. Yuba City Council, with Marysville in view. Yuba-Sutter live. It's the truth that comes through. Union on Tuesday, the news comes alive. You are Water Agency, making sure we thrive. Yuba City Council, with Marysville in view. Yuba-Sutter that comes through. Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Who should be the Yuba Water Agency North Director? Incumbent rice farmer Charlie Matthews or former director as 5th District County Supervisor Randy Fletcher? You can meet and hear from both men running for this open Yuba Water Agency North Directorship October 19th at 9 a.m. We'll be live from Christmas Tree Park in Marysville with Yuba-Sutter.live's Yuba Water Agency North Candidates Connection. Watch. Questions? Send them to candidatequestions@yuba-sutter.live. This public service live stream is presented by Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties and supported by Edible Memories Bakery in Marysville. The Yuba Water Agency North Candidates Connection, Saturday, October 19th, 9 a.m., live from Christmas Tree Park in Marysville. Another special live stream from your local channel, Yuba-Sutter.live. We'd like to let you know that a replay of the Marysville City Council Candidates Connection from 2 weeks ago Saturday will be happening 6 o'clock this Wednesday. That is also presented by the folks at Comfort Keepers, Neil Goforth and his fine staff, and all of the people who provide the comfort that you can find with Comfort Keepers. This, again, a replay 6 o'clock this Wednesday, Candidates Connection. And then coming up Saturday morning, we will have a replay, or I should say we will have the Candidates Connections with the Yuba Water Agency North Director beginning at 9 o'clock, 10:30. The Marysville, and I'll correct the spelling there, Marysville Unified School Trustees Area 1 and 2 candidates. And at noon, Marysville Unified School Trustees Area 3 and 4. We will have a replay of the Candidates Connections on the coming up after this weekend, and we'll give you a date as soon as we have that. It'll probably be Monday. Anyway, all of these brought to you by our fine friends at Comfort Keepers in Marysville, which serves Yuba County, Sutter County, and Nevada County.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
Thinking good vibes one day at a time. At Edible Memories, life is sublime. In every bite, you'll find a dream. Join us now, let your heart beat. Step inside, sharing the fun. Edible Memories Bakery, where happiness runs.
Edible Memories Bakery, 321 3rd Street, Marysville. EdibleMemoriesBakery.com. We get support from Brent Hasty, Gary Bradford, Chris Branscombe, and Neil Goforth, and other fine folks like you. Join the crowd. Support Yuba-Sutter.live. You can click on the link in the text below. It's very easy. And we thank you for your support.
In the heart of the valley, we rise so bright, where the news flows freely in the morning light. Yuba-Sutter.live, where truth comes alive. Every Tuesday's a journey, it's where we thrive. Watch it unfold. Yuba-Sutter.live, in the heart of our home.